Question: are you allowed to use self-defense as a Christian? Can you enact violence against somebody who is attacking you, for example? The short answer is no, but it's complicated.
In this episode of my DTR series, we're talking about the use of deadly force for self-defense. He immediately goes to Romans 12:19. There's already a problem here. How many times do Christians defend their Bible by saying, "You're taking it out of context"? I'm accused of it constantly, and I'm sure Jameen would argue that if the discussion was slavery, for example. So let's go to Romans 12, but let's jump back a couple of verses and get some context. Giving a summary of Romans 1 through 11, Paul asks how people should respond to God's mercy, and the answer is to live a life of self-sacrificing worship. This includes serving the Lord and other believers, refusing revenge, and overcoming evil with good. That isn't what self-defense is. This is about exacting revenge for someone who has wronged you. For the moment, though, let's look at this. Starting with 17, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord." On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Yet he's taken that to say that God is saying there will be a day of judgment. I'm reminded of something Tracy Harris once said. You have a God who simply watches a child rape take place and then says, when you're done, then I'm going to punish you. If I could stop a person from raping a child, I would. That's the difference between me and your God. He's essentially arguing, don't stop it from happening, God will get them later. That is absolutely absurd. Luke 22:36 says that if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. This character, Jesus, knew that there would be a time when his followers would be threatened, and he upheld their right to self-defense. And then not long after that, we also have the verse that says, those who live by the sword will die by the sword. I will continue to state that Christianity is a poisonous ideology, and I can absolutely defend that position. However, just like any other fairy tale, there are morals to the story that I can understand. Approach to violence is one of those. We have to approach it with understanding and tact. The Bible, like everything else, makes that clear. Yet somehow this Christian doesn't think so. Exodus 22:2, for example. If a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, the defender is guilty of bloodshed. There is a time and a place for self-defense, and after such a time, it becomes premeditated retaliation. He uses Luke 6:29, the turn the other cheek verse. This is yet another example of someone claiming to be a theologian who has absolutely no understanding of his own scriptures. The Bible doesn't forbid self-defense, and believers are allowed to defend themselves and their families. But the fact that they are permitted to defend themselves does not necessitate doing so in every situation. Again, tact and understanding play a key role that he seems to be missing. Most fables share a similarity when it comes to self-defense. Enacting violence to the demise of the protagonist for the sake of the safety can be seen as necessary, whereas the narrative the Reconstructionist paints is that Christians should just simply be pushovers and allow violence to their family members in hopes that a God that can't be demonstrated to exist gets them later. It might sound wonderful to think that someone like the Mustache Man is paying for his crimes, but in reality, that's not the case. While that may not seem fair, What is that he is no longer causing that sort of pain and suffering. Looking to reality, we have to understand that yes, we are obligated to stop atrocities, but we can also recognize that it's better to rebuild and mourn our losses properly and be there for the survivors and help them move through their pain and stop the perpetrators from committing the atrocities again than to do so out of revenge. We cannot undo what has been done, but we can, as humanists, help survivors work through it and keep those who enacted those issues from ever committing them again.